Greetings ladies, gentlemen and non-binaries, and welcome to my new video series Album Haul, where I showcase and discuss the many albums I buy each month of the year, and not necessarily give many reviews, but just talk about my thoughts on the albums and how I got a hold of them. First things first, I'd like to apologise for the army of cicadas sitting outside my window making a lot of noise if you can hear them, and secondly, my voice sounds a bit different because I'm recovering from a cold, again. I'm also wearing my Doom Days Tour Part 2 t-shirt from the Bastille show I went to see in Auckland in January, which was, yeah, really phenomenal. And just quickly before I start, I wanted to maybe explain why I decided to make this series. It was actually an idea I had last year at the start of 2019, where I wanted to make a series where I just talk about all the albums I get, because as you can see here, I enjoy collecting physical media, especially like CDs and certain movies, but albums are a particularly fun and easy sort of thing to collect because, you know, you can collect a whole discography and they're nice to look on a shelf, whereas, you know, movies, there's, I don't know, tens of thousands released per year. I suppose the same with albums, but, you know, I'm more inclined to be collecting albums than I am movies. And games I don't really collect anymore. I'm more into music now than games. Anyway, I wanted to do this last year, you know, 2019, but I thought to myself, I mean, I already have pretty much all the albums I want. I mean, there'd be no point in doing this. It's not like I'm going to get many albums. And boy, was I wrong. First month of the year, January, I got into the Red Hot Chili Peppers and pretty much proceeded to get every single one of their albums, but I think 2 I still need to find. Then I got to Blink 182, All Time Low, all sorts of new bands, always discovering new bands, and I love to collect their albums, deluxe editions, DVD sets, the whole 9 yards. And coming into 2020, I thought the same thing, like there's not many albums I can see myself getting. Well, boy was I wrong, as you're about to see. I appreciate any and all constructive feedback, so please let me know what you think down below, if there's any tweaks I can do to the style and design, because it's something I would like to continue throughout the year. If the videos don't do as well, maybe I'll combine them so I do 2 months at a time to save, you know, spamming your inbox or newsfeed, whatever it's called. Now that the overly long intro is out of the way, I'm going to kick things off with the new albums of January. There are none. Yeah, unfortunately there weren't any albums I was interested in getting that were released in January. To start with, I really wanted to pre-order Blossom's new album, Foolish Loving Spaces, but it was going to cost over £50, so close to $100 to get it shipped from the UK to New Zealand, and in the end it would not have been worth it because it turned out to be quite a disappointing album. So we'll move on to some of the albums I got that were not released in January, but are still new copies. From memory, the first album I got of the year was Everyday Life by Coldplay. I didn't pre-order this album because it wasn't something I was super fussed on. Like, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Coldplay, but when it released, AB Hi-Fi actually had like a deal where you get it for only $10. So I tried to get that, and then they ran out of stock, and so I tried to get it through Mighty Ape, and sure enough, they managed to source it for me. And if you got it through Mighty Ape, you got like a cool card thing, just as like a little pre-order bonus, even though I didn't pre-order it, but the card, I put it next to the album on my shelf, and it is now not there, so it is lost in the void somewhere. Anyway, it's a very unique album. People are saying it's a concept album and they're praising it because, you know, it's doing something different. They don't play it safe, but to me that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good album. Like, I don't dislike it, but you really have to be in the mood to listen to it. It's like a mood piece. The only song you'd probably hear on the radio would be Orphans, and even then they've got a popular remix that they had out, and I think that's going to be the one that they play on the radio. It's not a very radio-friendly album, but, you know, they actually made the effort to do something different, I suppose. Originally, from what I saw, the album was meant to be split into 2 discs, one for Sunrise, one for Sunset. As you can see, there's like a part 1, part 2, but instead they put it on 1 disc with all the songs crammed into 1. A lot of the tracks are just atmospheric music. There's a couple of just like spoken word ones, almost like poetry, which I find quite odd, that just off the top of my head, out of the 24 songs, there's like 8 actual songs. Sorry, there's only 16 tracks on here, although there is a disc print error. I don't know if it's on every single copy or just happen to be the ones that we got in, you know, New Zealand and Australia, but for some reason, there's a musical interlude right in the middle of the album where it's like a bunch of church bells chiming. Now, instead of being plastered onto the end of one track or on the start of another, and rather than going the usual route where it's like a 30 seconds just, you know, interlude track, for some reason, there's like 5 3-second to 9-second just individual clips of church bells ringing, and it's really odd. Now, if you put this into like a PS3 or a laptop or something because you want to copy the disc, like I do obviously, then it will literally come up with like 24 tracks. That's why I got confused in my head, because there aren't 24 songs, but you put the disc in and it says 24 and you wonder why. And then there's a whole bunch of 3-second songs and you click on them and they're literally just bells ringing. So yeah, that's a very strange error. Now, it does create a bit of an annoying listening experience if you're listening to it on a CD player in your car or at home, where they don't skip pauses in between songs. Like some playback devices, they have like a split second or even like a 2-second pause in between tracks, so there's that moment of silence, and it's really obvious when you listen to albums where the artist has very clearly made it so that one track is supposed to lead into another. I'm fortunate enough to have a good CD player now where it literally does go straight from But It's Better If You Do into Tragedies from A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. But I also have playback devices where it doesn't. It has that momentary pause. So in here you've got a 3-second bell chime, little pause, 3-second bell chime, little pause, 4-second bell chime, little pause. It's just really weird. And anyway, that's why I did this one first, because it was the one I had most to talk about because of that weird disc print era. It is something I would like to get more into, but even I listened to this a couple of days ago and I only got a short way through it before I was like, you know what, I'd rather listen to something like The Strokes, because it's a unique album and it's something that I personally like to vibe to. It's got like a really nice sort of aesthetic to it, but it's definitely something new and different from Coldplay, and it's something very unique, so I think it should be given credit for that, because quite often bands will try something different and it's just noise. Hayley Williams. The next album is Big Mess by Group Love. I'm very new to Group Love. Of course, everyone knows their song Tongue Tied, well at least I do, and it's on Rock Band, thankfully. This album doesn't have that song on it, but it was on clearance for a while and I was thinking about, do I get it, do I not? And I decided to bite the bullet, get this one, and yeah. Group Love's quite good, and as you'll hear at the end of the video, I have a pretty good reason for getting into them now. And now for an album I ordered on the 3rd of December, and it arrived on the 24th of January. All Time Low's Last Young Renegade. This is the latest album they released. They did just release a new single a few weeks ago from another upcoming album, but yeah, this one, obviously the most poppy of their discography. I'm very new to All Time Low. Actually, I'm not that new to All Time Low. I'm obsessed with them currently. Like, I cannot stop listening to their albums. I have almost all of them now. Spoiler alert for the February album haul. But yeah, this is one that I waited over a month for, and then it arrived and the case was all shattered to pieces, so the disc just falls out. Oh, and the manual. Manual, what am I talking about? It's not a video game. Okay, long story short, I'm in charge of the music at a sports fashion outlet I work at part-time, and there was the song Good Times, which became their most viewed hit, unfortunately, which is a straight up pop song. And that was the first All Time Low song I'd actually heard. So I went through this album a couple of times trying to find other sort of, you know, pop-related songs to put on the playlist, because, you know, they don't let me put rock songs on there. So I was already somewhat familiar with the album, and I've listened to it, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I don't think I would enjoy it as much if I had only heard, like, you know, Dear Maria, Weightless, all the classic songs that they're known for before listening to this, but because I listened to this, like, this is my introduction to them, similar to how my introduction to Fall Out Boy was Immortals, you know, I do actually genuinely like this album. I haven't got too much to say about it because I'm still, you know, obsessing over their old stuff, but one day I'll be obsessing over this. This next one, I don't have much to say about it. It's the Frozen 2 soundtrack, although I wasn't crazy about the movie. I mean, it was alright. Pretty much the same as I thought about the first one when I first saw it. I might rewatch it one day and actually properly enjoy it, but yeah, the thing that really got me in that movie was Lost in the Woods. That was a hilarious part of the movie. I love the song, and I know nothing about Weezer, but their version of this, I really like that too, so that could be a good introduction for Weezer for when they do the mega tour here with Green Day and Fall Out Boy. So yeah, the Frozen 2 soundtrack, that's, yeah, the music is good, it's catchy, it's stuck in my head to this day. And you got Panic at the Disco on there as well, so that's a win. Moving on to one where the story of how I got it's more interesting than the album itself, the Rocket Man soundtrack. If you love Elton John, if you enjoyed this movie, you'll love it. Myself, I'm not a huge Elton John fan. I feel like I'm saying that a lot in this video. I do appreciate his career and the talent that he brings, and I don't want to give too many details, but let's just say this was supposed to be a prize for a competition when the album was in theaters a year ago, and yeah, they just had it sitting on a shelf, so I was like, can I have it? I collect CDs? Yeah, sure thing. So that's how I got a hold of the Rocket Man soundtrack. And the final one I got new was What Went Down by Foals, the CD-DVD combo. Yeah, my partner Tamsin absolutely loves Foals. Their 2 albums they released last year, Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost Part 1 and 2. She reckons that's the best music they've created in years, absolutely obsessing over them. And there's always been one Foals song stuck in my head, the When I See You Man, I See You Later. And it's this album right here. I bought it, I listened to it, she hijacked it from me and listened to it, and it's, yeah, it's really good. So this is our little shared album, Foals. I'm really enjoying getting into their older stuff and their newer stuff because it's all so good. They won a bunch of awards, they're really good. They came here last year and Tamsin went to see them. Of course, I didn't know them then, but now that I know them, please come back to New Zealand. Please, please. Now those are all the albums I've managed to get new copies of. Now, Tamsin and I, whenever we go to Auckland for a concert, we visit our favourite record store, Groovy Records, which has since moved from their 3-story location to a 1-story, you know, just regular, smaller building, but they do actually have a discount place upstairs, which has been there the whole time, but we've just, you know, too blind to notice the giant signs that say, hey, we've got all the discount CDs upstairs. But this time, we saw the sign, we went upstairs, we hit the mother load. So myself personally, I got All Time Low straight to DVD, which got like their heyday, where they had so many of their best songs at the time. Yeah, it's just interesting because All Time Low, I've only been into them for I think 4 months now, but I really enjoy their music. I don't know much about them as people, and this was probably a bad first impression because they're just running around acting like a bunch of twats, really. I mean, obviously, that's the kind of music they were in. You know, it kind of goes with that. Like when I very first saw what Escape the Fate were like as people, but regardless, I'm sure they're fine now. He seems to be doing a lot more self-reflective lyrics and later music, old Alex, so that was pretty cool. Listen to the CD, I'm looking forward to watching the DVD. Next up is Red Hot Chili Peppers live in Hyde Park. This is one that I just saw sitting on its own. I found out later on that's actually out of print, so semi-rare. And the reason I picked this one up is because it's got some of my favourite songs on it. I have almost all of Red Hot Chili Peppers' discography, minus One Hot Minute and their second to last album. It's not to say I don't like them, but obviously I prefer, you know, I can get at the cliche, look at me, I like Californication, and by the way, those albums most. And this is pretty much, it's only comprised of about 3 albums, and 2 of those albums are Californication, by the way, so I figured, why not? And now that I know that it's like a sort of slight rarity, makes it even better. Next one is Bloc Party, A Weekend in the City. I found a really cool 2-disc version. Yeah, Bloc Party are one of those bands where their discography must be so fun to collect because there's just infinite amounts of different special editions, deluxe editions. Now, this is a band that Tamsin likes. Not loves, just really enjoys. And they came here, I think, 2018. She didn't go to see them because it was one of those situations where you like a band but not enough to pay several $100s to have to travel up to Auckland to go see them. And they used to have all their albums for like dirt cheap, $4 at Groovy Records, and we didn't get them. And of course now that SingStar shut down at the end of this month, rest in peace, I was buying up a bunch of songs before the SingStore went down and they had a couple of Bloc Party songs and I recognised them and I was like, I want to get this. So I bought this. It's got The Prayer on it, which is one of their best songs. And I actually really enjoyed the album. So, spoiler alert for February's one again, I pretty much have all their albums now. Needless to say, this is a really good find. Unfortunately, they're not $4 anymore, so it was a bit out of pocket on that one, but they're still really good. And finally, for me, this one's not a Groovy Records one. It was in like a thrift store, but good Charlotte album. Apparently this one's alright. It was $2, so I figured, why not? Good Morning Revival, it's called. I know of The River because it's got M Shadows and Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold in it, and apparently Misery's a pretty good song. Broken Heart Parade I've heard of, so yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to hear. I'm not a die-hard fan of Good Charlotte, but I have a couple of their albums, so yeah, $2 for one of theirs, not bad. Now, just to add a bit of variety, I also want to show off some of the albums Tamsin picked up as well, because she has a very different music taste to mine. But also we do share some similarities, you'll see. So to start with, she got a bunch of Cobra Starship albums, because when I was getting into All Time Low, she said, yeah, Cobra Starship, All Time Low, You, Me at 6, they're a bunch of bands that I might get into one day, because they're very similar in, you know, like genre and that. So we got Viva La Cobra, Nightshades, and Hot Mess. Apparently Cobra Starship were really good, and then they went downhill after they started making more pop-sounding music, but we'll see. Now I've got 3 albums, so I can hear the rise and fall of Cobra Starship. She also found some of her old favourites, like Baby Shambles. We actually already have this album, so that's a bit unfortunate. The Knife. I don't know much about The Knife, although I've heard a couple of their songs. They do seem pretty cool. A Bob Dylan album, obviously. You know, gotta love Bob Dylan. Subterranean Homesick Blues. Now we've got like 10 Bob Dylan albums. And one of her old favourite bands, The Libertines. Now she has the complete discography of The Libertines. They're a really cool band. Fun story behind them as well. And yeah, they're pretty good Wikipedia research if you've got time. And saving the coolest thing to last, Tamsin picked up this massive Rolling Stones singles collection. This thing is incredibly awesome. It's like 3 discs worth of all their old singles back from their heyday. She says it comes with this cool book with heaps of information about it. It's like one of those really cool collectibles that die-hard fans will like. And you get 3 discs, close to 100 tracks. It's a really cool box. It's a really cool collection. I'm looking forward to, I'm guessing when I'm in my 30s, all my favourite bands from now, they're going to come out with cool box sets like this. For example, The Origin of Muse, they released a really cool box set. We never get cool stuff like that in New Zealand unless you buy things from official band stores, which is going to cost like close to $1,000. Because what are they, like $400 US plus shipping? That's a nightmare to even calculate how much that'd cost. But the Origin of Muse was actually available on Mighty Ape, so I ordered it. 3 months later, I find out that they can't actually source it, which kind of sucks. So I'm looking forward to, in the year 2030, having a deluxe Fall Out Boy discography collection, something like that. Anyway, that was the album haul. I'd like to wrap things up by talking about some of the cooler songs that were released, or at least my personal favourite songs that were released during the month of January. I haven't quite gotten into All Time Low's new song yet, but I really like Deleter by Group Love. That's one that kind of blew me away. It came out a couple of days after Big Mess arrived in the mail, and I thought, oh wow, maybe I should actually listen to these guys, and I did. And yeah, it's really good. I really like Deleter. They recently released like a remix version of it, which isn't, you know, my personal taste, but it's more poppy, so I can chuck that on the work USB, you know, play that at work. And yeah, Deleter by Group Love. It's really good. Made it into the end of one of the Fairbairn Brothers sketches, so that's high praise enough. I wanted to say Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, but that actually came out a couple of months ago. It was only the music video that came out this month. Anyway, I'm sorry this video's run on so long. I do try and keep them concise to make them more entertaining and easier to watch, though I do tend to ramble, so this is a good learning experience for next month. For now, February, again, it's halfway through February now, and I'm looking at my my stack of CDs I've gotten this month already, and it's gonna be a good one. I'm gonna have a lot to say, but I'm gonna try and focus it up, keep it a lot shorter. I'd like to thank you guys very much for watching. If there's any feedback on my style, anything I could use to improve, anything I could change, please feel free to let me know. Thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And just a bit of a personal note from me. This was an attempt, not only because I had this idea last year and I really wanted to do, but I would really like to start making more regular content. My last video I uploaded was the Road to NF. Now I make Road to videos every time I go to a concert, but this last one is the most positive feedback I've had since December of 2018 when I went to see 21 Pilots. I've just had strangers just saying this is such a good video and they really enjoy what I bring to it, and that's crazy to think that people actually enjoy what I bring to it. Like I always assumed like I'll do this more for me. I'll do my best to entertain people, but it's more for, like, if I want to look back and remember the trips I've had to see these concerts, and for other people to watch the concert footage, you know, in case they missed it or they just want to re-experience it too. But I've just had people, like a good dozen or so, just strangers over either Facebook fan pages of NF or on my actual video itself, just saying like, hey, thank you so much for this, it's really cool. And it's been really cool, so thank you all very much. If there's anyone watching this that also watched the Road to NF, thank you very much for that. I haven't got much else to say except thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.